my sisters so that I could go to date night or formal. But somehow, miraculously, I am not only here, but I am sharing my personal testimony with you all. Tonight, you will hear about my emotional and roller coaster ride of a journey of faith, beginning with a childish naivety to who God was, and ending with a reconciliation to who God truly is. So, a little bit about me and my upbringing. I was raised in a Christian household, meaning I went to church every Sunday, took communion, and God was very present in our home. To me, God was like a third parent I couldn't see, but he was very much so a helicopter dad. His rules governed the Johnson household. We couldn't eat until we prayed and couldn't go to sleep without saying the Our Father. At a very young age, I learned that God was going to be a presence in my life and that following his rules would lead to a better life. So I did. I was an obedient child to both my parents and to God. I stuck to the routine and became used to it as well. My faith never wavered and I never doubted God, yet I was only a Christian in name only. When I got older, I became surrounded by distraction, extracurricular activities, and school. I went to an extremely secular school surrounded by science and based in just having things being there and proven to you. And oftentimes teachers would admit the phrase under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. I thought not too much of it, but for me it did cause an emotional stirring. I deeply valued the opinions and beliefs of the teachers who I practically grew up with, and their ideologies became that of my own. I was taught to question everything and to not be sure of something until I was able to prove it. This mentality led me to the beginning of my separation from God. What really solidified my fall from grace was my struggles with grief. There are 5 universal stages of grief that all people of all ages endure when they are faced with the loss of a loved one. Sequentially, it goes denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. I think that after 10 years of losing two of the best people I've ever known and truly will ever know, I am still in the first stage of processing, denial. Life is sacred, life is short, but I never expected to lose anyone so close to me until I was at least in my 20s. I was 12 when I suffered my first taste of losing someone I love. Then again at 14, fate hit me again. It is hard to lose someone in those early stages of life, especially when those people are truly the best of you. These are the people that taught you how to love, how to laugh, how to shine in your darkest moments. At 12, I had to grow up very fast and be a pillar of strength so that my family could deal with their own grief first instead of making sure that I was okay. Newsflash, I wasn't, but you would never be able to talk. This new role that I took on was no pressure from those around me, but something I wanted to do entirely on my own. Because if I just answered, I'm fine, or I'm okay, somehow, some way, I could convince myself that I was. Andrew Garfield recently lost his mom, and in doing public appearances, he says that grief is just unexpressed love, and I hope this grief stays with me because it's just all the unexpressed love that I didn't get to tell them. Andrew Garfield is emotionally more wise and intelligent than a 12-year-old me, and honestly, even a 22-year-old me. I would not wish this feeling of grieving an unimaginable loss on anyone, but then there's me also who has never really dealt with the loss and continuously is stuck in the stage of denial. If grief truly is just love I never got to share, what does this mean if I'm refusing to take the steps necessary to grieve? The love I have for those I've lost manifests itself in different ways. The memories I constantly replay, it's the songs we used to listen to together, the games we play, or the food we used to eat. My early days of naive faith taught me that just because I couldn't see someone, it didn't mean that they weren't there. So instead of dealing with this loss, I almost pretended it never happened. They're still here, I just can't see them. In order to keep up this illusion, I needed to distract myself and keep my mind constantly occupied with either school, work, or sleep. Because if I was focusing on one of those things, I wasn't thinking about not being able to create new memories with those I loved the most. But at least I had God by my side, right? God was no longer a helicopter dad. He was no longer in my family, but a distant stranger I blamed for everything that could possibly go wrong in life. At Great Getaway, they talked about letting God into every door of your life, junk and all, and he will give you a better life. I was born with my drawers fully open, and no God who truly loved me would ever do this to me, bring me unimaginable pain, and force me to live a life without those who brought me closest to him. Because a life without them is no life at all. I felt extremely far away from God. It was no longer hopeful innocence, but a tried and failed a test, God is to blame. I stubbed my toe, God is to blame. So strangely, I never considered myself not Christian. It's not like I stopped believing in him entirely. I just stopped believing that he loved me and that a life with him awaits bigger and better things. Between the years of 16 and 18, the anger subsided very slowly and turned into fear. I went to a Catholic high school whose focused entirely on the Old Testament and a very punitive God. I became so fearful of more bad things happening in my life that I tried not to have a relationship with him at all. 1 John 4:18 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has punishment. He who fears is not made perfect in love." I no longer had love for God, but I didn't want to feel this way. Before, I spoke about God as a helicopter dad. Instead of walking with me, he hovered above me, watching and judging my every action. Between the ages of 16 and 18, he was further above me. But as I began the steps of reconciliation with God in college, it was like I was walking with him, but he was 100 feet behind me. When I needed him, I would look back and ask for advice, strength, and guidance. It was like I knew he was speaking to me, but I just couldn't hear him, and that became extremely frustrating for me. So with the help of some friends, I started going back to church, and for once, I was really listening for God. After the fires, I remember driving back home to Vegas, and I was hit with the worst wave of anxiety I've ever felt in my life, to the point where I felt like I was about to pass out on the freeway. The first thing they teach you in human biology is that the mental can manifest itself into the physical. If I keep thinking I'm going to pass out, there's a good chance of it actually happening. But in this terrifying moment, I remember the sermon I just heard 3 days ago. What is anxiety but just the fear of something evil? Now we get to Greek Getaway. Krista and Grace have been asking me to go to Greek Getaway for about 4 years now, and my immediate reaction is, thank you, but no thank you. But this year something was different. I genuinely couldn't say no, and I really tried. I told Krista, well, if there are other kids who want to go and are willing to pay, just go ahead and give my spot to them. I gave Grace the excuse of being busy with school, and of course the Super Bowl. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and for some reason, I was being called to go to this retreat. Night 1, we got our schedules, and it is an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. full day of reflection and discussion, with breaks, of course. I thought immediately, I'm not going to enjoy this, but I'm going to do it, just cuz. Then all my friends were split into different table groups. I was at the table that was front and center, just my luck. But in this group, I met Ken, who was one of the people that were responsible for my transformation. During our general session at night, we had to talk to someone from a different school, and somehow I found myself talking to a girl at SDSU who was in the same sorority as a mutual friend. Later that night, she was one of the few people who was ready to commit herself fully to Christ and give him everything. She saw the hardest and her light shine the brightest. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it was a combination of the environment and the people I surrounded myself with, but truly I walked out of that conference a different person than when I walked in. I swore that those who led the discussions and were our group leaders lived the most perfect and straight Christian life, and come to find out they've lived crazier lives than I ever will. J-Mac got arrested after formal. Ken had the most insane spring break in Mexico, and that really set him straight. J-Mac said something that really stood out to me. Yes, you can have this wonderful experience and transformation, but when you get home, no one's going to understand this journey you just went through. So you're constantly going to be surrounded by temptations of your previous lifestyle. We went home on Super Bowl Sunday, and maybe one after I touched down in Malibu, I had plans to go to a Super Bowl watch party. I was scared. I made a commitment to God the night before that I was ready to enter into a new relationship with him again, but what if I wasn't ready? What if I fail? What if temptation is just too strong, or I am just too weak? I don't know, but what I did know at the time was that I was blasting Holy Forever, driving through campus up to Drescher, and came into my apartment, skipping and laughing and sharing how amazing the entire experience was to honestly anyone who listened. After the Super Bowl, I called Krista immediately, telling her that I was not tempted, and I was raving about Greek Getaway to all these drunk football fans who honestly probably just wanted to watch the commercials or enjoy their conversations, and that I've never felt so high on life. Then she asked me to share my testimony, and again I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. I hate public speaking, and I don't want people to know too much about my personal life. So here I am, taking the steps with God, hand in hand, and slowly on this new journey towards forgiveness and healing. Isaiah 41:10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Yes, I was afraid to commit to God, and yes, I was afraid to share my testimony today, but everything happens for a reason. Right now, I am walking hand in hand with God, kind of like a nervous child ready to embark on a new journey again, starting with this one. As you've noticed, I have been speaking extremely vaguely and ambiguously about those who I've lost. You're probably asking yourself, was it a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle? To that, I say yes. Yes to it all. I think this ambiguity is a testament of my denial because saying it outwardly is accepting the fact that they are gone, and I'm just not there yet, even after all this time. But I am taking this journey of accepting grief one baby step at a time. Thank you.